It's not live yet. You've got about probably 15 seconds.
Okay.
You're live, sir. Let me just start adding people. Right, so you're live.
All right. Good morning, gang. How we doing? Grateful to be with you on this beautiful Friday morning. Got a little bit of cloud cover in the desert. It's a good day. It's a really good day, and I'm grateful to be with all of you. So we're gonna keep going with I put a little bit of a different spin on our material this morning, and I'm actually pulling out, I've combined a formula that I created about a year ago with some prayers out of this thing called You. And so I wanted to just present a little bit of a different format. Some of the stuff will look familiar as far as the prayers that I've pulled out of this thing called You, the book, This Thing Called You. But I've married them this time to, as you can see on your screen, a formula called Get Unstuck. It's a workshop I developed. And I think the reason I'm doing that this morning is I thought it was particularly potent given the times that we're in, what's happening right now. That as we're quarantining and sheltered in place, I certainly know there's been times when I've been stuck. So I've actually, stuck in feeling like in a rut, and then I feel angry and, like I can't leave the apartment, or when's the pool gonna open, like silly stuff, but we get used to the life that we live. But then I kind of want to take it to a broader context after I present the material and enter into a different kind of discussion as well. So let's have some fun this morning. I hope, as always, my prayer is that this is of benefit to you, that it somehow does something for you as I share this information, and that your life is better because of it. That's always the desire of my heart. So let's dive in, shall we? Here we go. So it's called Get Unstuck is the name I came up with. Really what it's about is getting free. We all want to, there's a fundamental urge within every single one of us to be free. And that's free in every way. And I don't care what you look like, what you smell like, where you come from, who you are, what your background is, what your desires and dreams are. Each one of us have a desire inside that keeps knocking on the door of our heart and our mind that says, I want to be free. Dr. King, in his famous, and if you haven't listened to this, I really encourage you to at some point, in his I've Been to the Mountaintop speech, he speaks directly to this, that there was a desire knocking on everybody's heart that says, I want to be free. I want to be free. And that's everybody. Everybody wants to be free. So freedom to speak, freedom to move, freedom to choose, freedom to love, freedom to make mistakes, freedom to be alive, be fully self-expressed. So let's go through this material, and I pray that it's a benefit to you. Let's get unstuck this morning, shall we? So here's step one, acknowledgement. The first step in this is to acknowledge that you are in fact stuck. Now, how do we even discover this? Well, we have to take moments of silence and moments of reflection. There are also some symptoms that will present themselves so that you know that you are stuck. Frustration, anger. Time out just 1 second, gang. I need to take care of one logistical item. I'll be right back in like 5 seconds, literally. Da-da, sorry about that. I had a little bit of background noise, but I'm back here now. Okay, so we're good. So acknowledgement. So how do you know that you are stuck? Frustration. And you might not even know why you're frustrated, but it's a symptom. It's an indicator. Anger, easily irritated. And you wonder why. Sometimes we go through life like, why am I so irritable today? Or why am I so easily frustrated? Or, there's some days when I'm on the road and someone cuts me off, or, makes a bad move, in traffic, and I just take it as it comes and I don't get paid any mind. And then there's other times when I get really frustrated. and angry. And I feel like I start taking it personally, like they did that to me. Well, they probably just weren't paying attention to what they're doing. So those are some indicators that we are in fact stuck. So if we pay attention to our emotional body, it can inform us that we're stuck. And then we start to ask questions. Well, why am I frustrated? Is there something in particular I'm frustrated about? And then we start digging in and asking the right questions of where we're stuck and how we're stuck. So again, this could be in a relationship. It could be regarding finances. It could be regarding your self-expression. Is there a way that you're being called to have your voice, but you're not using your voice for whatever you're afraid? You're afraid of the repercussions. You're concerned with what the feedback's going to be. You're concerned that you might be wrong. You're concerned that you might be right. But there's this kind of fear that comes along with, why I have something to say about this particular thing, but I'm not saying it because I'm afraid, whatever it might be. So the first thing we want to do is acknowledge that we are stuck, and that takes silence. It takes moments of reflection daily to just check in with your emotional body. Where am I? Am I at peace? Am I frustrated? Am I irritated? And then be willing. Here's the thing though, is we have to be willing to actually be aware of that. Sometimes ignorance is bliss. It really isn't, but it can be if we're not willing, or if we're not willing to actually be bothered by the fact that we are stuck, then we will continue to just be unconscious, frustrated, irritated, things like that. So acknowledgement that you're stuck takes an inner quality. So you see there's a formula here. There are three different, to each one of these points, there are three different aspects to it. The lesson, the inner quality or value, it's actually like an inner posture, like a yoga posture. Like, it takes humility to admit, especially in a day and age of accomplishment, progress, achievement, things like that, to acknowledge that you're stuck. It takes a tremendous amount of humility for me to acknowledge that I'm stuck somehow. And so an inner posture of humility is actually when I can bring myself inwardly as a posture. Again, it's a value, it's a quality of being. When I can bring myself to my knees inwardly and acknowledge that I'm stuck. We've been in the same, again, some other examples of how you can be stuck. We've been in the same, conversation or argument in our relationship for a year now, as an example. I've been stuck on being 20 pounds overweight. Like, I know I'm carrying a little bit of extra weight, and I've been aware of it for a while. I could lose a solid 15 pounds, and I've been at the same weight for a while now. So an acknowledgement of, I want to lose weight, but I'm still not. I'm not doing the things necessary and actually to lose the weight. My bank account balance, or I've made the same salary or the same income for 10, 15 years now, and I'm not seeing any growth. I'm not seeing any increase. So I want to experience more. I want to be free. So it's humble. It's a humble posture to say, I'm stuck. Humility. And it's okay to be humble. It actually is the first step in real progress, to be humble and admit something. So here's a prayer out of this thing called you that can support us in moving through this particular step or stage right here. The Spirit never rejects me. So if you're concerned about being humble and being rejected by the very thing that created you, don't worry about it. Life loves authenticity. Life loves authenticity. The Spirit never rejects me. I accept myself. I realize my center in the divine mind. I know that I'm one with all the good there is. I am one with all the power there is. I am one with all the peace there is. I know there is nothing in me that can condemn or be condemned. I know there is nothing in me that can condemn or be condemned. Powerful statement. There is nothing in me that can judge or be judged. I know that my word uproots any sense of rejection from my consciousness. Now, here's a powerful word and an important idea that it's important that we reconcile. The word is shame. Now, sometimes if we're stuck, we get aware of it, and then we're ashamed of ourselves. And what does shame do? Shame shuts us down. Shame makes us want to go hide. Go find a rock and get underneath it so that no one ever sees me. I don't have to be naked and real. That's what shame does. This acknowledgement of being stuck isn't about being ashamed. It's about an opening for more life to come through us. It's an opening that is created by authenticity. It's an open that's created by our willingness to what the next step is, which is tell the truth about it. You tell the truth about how you're stuck. How do we do that? Hopefully at this point, you've already got a team. I've talked about this before, how important it is to have a team. Those are individuals that cheer you on, that call you out on your crap, that encourage you when you feel down. And if you're out of integrity, we'll get into the value in just a moment, call you back into integrity. Constantly, your team is calling you to a higher truth. Could be family members, trusted friends, business colleagues. The important part is that you trust them, that there's a trust established, that they're confidants, that you trust them to hold your heart in the palm of their hands very, very gently, but with an earnestness about it, with a sincerity about it, with a fierce truth about it. So they hold it gently, but with a willingness and a commitment to have you grow. So you find someone on your team, or your best friend, or one of your best friends, or you're a sibling or a parent or a child or whatever it might be, and you tell the story of how you've been stuck. Now, this isn't to be stuck on the story. This is catharsis. This is release. This is, well, forgive me for saying it this way, but it's what's coming to mind. When you've got waste material inside of your body, what happens? Your body indicates to you it's time to release the waste. That's kind of the process here. And that's a very natural process that none of us have anything to do with. This is a conscious process of releasing the waste, of releasing how we've been stuck. And again, the indicators, in the same way that it's time to release waste from your body, when it's time to release waste or stuckness from your consciousness, you have the indicators of irritation, frustration, anger, these things. And then it's time to release the waste. It's time to tell the story about it. It's time to, again, not fixate on the story, release the waste, and then move on. And again, forgive me, but who doesn't feel better after you go to the bathroom, right? If you got to go and you go, you feel better coming out of the bathroom. It's just the way it is. When you have a trusted confidant and you tell them the truth about where you've been stuck and the story about it and what your understanding and interpretation of it is, then you can come out of that truth-telling session. It's why people have counselors, the right counselor, a good counselor that's committed to your growth, not just you telling your story over and over again. When you come out of that truth-telling session, you feel lighter. You feel somehow more engaged with yourself, connected. And the values that come along with this are honesty and integrity. Honesty and integrity. Integrity, the whole of things. It's actually, integrity gets us back to our wholeness. The idea of integrity is wholeness. If we're out of integrity, we're in partness. So when we're honest, when we're telling the truth about where we've been stuck, when we're telling the truth about how we've sinned, and what do we know about sin now? Not from the traditional church. Sin is the idea that somehow we've just made a mistake. Sin is the idea that somehow we've just missed the mark. It's an old archery term. You remember that? That you somehow missed the mark. But how do we learn how to hit the mark? By missing the mark, by practicing. And so in the ways in your life and the ways that in my life that I may have missed the mark, if I've hurt somebody, if I've hurt myself, if I'm just in a rut, I can tell the truth about it. Along with this also comes the idea of forgiveness. So I'm honest. It brings me back into integrity, where I'm back to the whole of things, because I'm not in partness. I'm not operating from shame anymore, or a separation from my source, which is the living spirit of God. Ultimately, that's what our source is. We're not separate from that anymore, or perceiving that we're separate from that. We're back in integrity. Let me just tell you a little story. Some of you have already shared this, but before I came to Center for Spiritual Living Palm Desert, I was wandering in the wilderness for a solid 3 years. I had retired from my, I actually resigned. What I did is resign. I had resigned from my position as spiritual director of the center that I founded in Burien called Genesis. I was the leader of that center for 8 years. I founded it, nurtured it, loved it. And then so a number of painful things happened for me. And so the movement within me was to resign from that position in ministry. And so I proceeded to try a number of different things and a number of different avenues, and none of them were working out. None of them were bringing fulfillment. None of them were generating income. And I was just lost. I was truly stuck. I was in shame that I couldn't. How could I have created something successfully before, but I can't do it now? Like, what is it? What's happening? Easily frustrated, easily irritated, easily angered, lost in the wilderness of my own consciousness, not knowing what the answer was, denying my gifts, denying my authentic contribution to humanity, because everybody wants to contribute somehow. We all want to be seen, and we all want to have a voice and make some sort of substantive contribution to society, to our community, locally, within our family, locally, regionally, globally, whatever it might be, but just to have our voice for the benefit of something. It's almost like it's encoded within us to this idea that we have something to contribute that's life-giving. So I got with somebody that I really trust and appreciate, and started digging into this stuff over the course of maybe a year or so, which actually culminated in a trip to the Philippines, where I really dug in and tell the truth about where I was and what was happening. And this was just about a year ago. I went to the Philippines with a small group of people for 2 weeks and just dove into this stuff. Again, not to get committed to the story. I already was committed to the story. I already was committed to being lost and alone and victimized by the world, because I couldn't get anything to rock and roll anymore. So it kind of culminated in that, and then it broke some things up. And then so over the course of last summer, I started doing some other things. And then, by the time fall came around, lo and behold, through a number of different events that happened, I ended up as a new associate minister at Center for Spiritual Living Palm Desert, which is a gift, quite simply said, which is just a beautiful, extraordinary gift. So that was part of my breakup process. Lost for 3 years, and 3 years, looking back on it now, it seems like it went by fast, but it felt like lifetimes in the midst of it. And I know you at some point have felt lost like that. Maybe you do right now. Maybe in the midst of this, you feel lost, you feel alone, you feel like you don't know what the answers are. Get with somebody and tell the truth about it. Tell the story about it. Bring your honesty, get yourself in integrity, and that is the whole of things. Here's a prayer to support this. I know there's a spiritual center within me which is perfect. I am now telling my own consciousness automatically to ward off any thoughts of doubt or uncertainty. I sense that every state of doubt, every consciousness of negation is leaving me. Every doubt is being converted into certainty. Fear is being converted into faith. I have an abiding sense of happiness and peace. I am the very essence of peace. I have an inward confidence in my oneness with good. I rest in sublime trust. I'm going to pause there for a moment. If anybody has any chat questions that you want to type in, or if you want to unmute yourself if you're on Zoom and speak your comment or your question. And then after you're done sharing, mute yourself. We'll just wait a moment, see if anybody has any input here. Cool, let's carry on. Step 3. So what have you done? You've acknowledged that you're stuck. You've told the truth about it to somebody that you trust, that can hold you. And then you begin to choose, once you break up that stuckness, that stagnant energy that's inside of you, you begin to open the door to choosing what you really want. You take conscious dominion over your own mind. You get to understand that you're giving yourself permission to have an extraordinary life, that you are bound by nothing, that you don't need to be bound to anything, that you have permission simply because you're alive. And this is true for everybody. Race, economic standing, whatever your situation might be, everybody deserves an extraordinary life, and we can support each other in having that extraordinary life. This is an opportunity for you to choose what you really want. And this is an important question. I invite you to write it down. I invite you to, we'll talk to Jeff about making these slides available for upload so you can work with these things. This is an important time to actually ask yourself, what do I really want? And not be afraid of the answers. Just like a stream of consciousness in a journal, on a piece of paper. What do I really want? So you can start with maybe an idea of financial freedom. For example, I'll give you a couple examples. I want financial freedom. Okay, well, let's back into that then. We've got a vision, we've got a goal, let's back into it. What actually would that mean for you right now? Maybe in increments. You know, we talk about goals and setting goals, 1, 2, 5, 10 years, et cetera, et cetera. What would financial freedom actually look like for you? So let's say you're making $50,000 a year right now, $100,000 a year right now. Well, a next step in consciousness and growth would be to make $75,000 a year, $150,000 a year. What would that, not extra, but that additional 25, that additional 50,000 allow you to do? Be of greater service and sharing, vacations, buy a new car, et cetera. It's what it might be. But then a consciousness of growth says, okay, 150 is beautiful. I'm so grateful for it. Now 200. You see what I mean? So and then how do we get there? How do you actually do that? Well, again, in times of contemplation, in times of reflection, we actually open our minds to new ideas. So when you choose what you really want, financial freedom, another example could be that all of your relationships are harmonious, that there's not one relationship in your life that doesn't provide you with some sort of growth, harmony, beauty, even though there may be challenging conversations at times, Lord knows, in marriages and partnerships and with siblings or parents or kids, that there's challenging conversations sometimes. But that doesn't mean they're not rooted in love, that they're not rooted in compassion, that they're not, it doesn't mean they're not rooted in a true desire to have breakthrough and understanding. You know, we just had three of us yesterday had a wonderful, challenging conversation about race. And because the three of us love each other, in that situation, we can actually stand, disagree with each other, agree with each other, know that we love each other, seek to understand each other, and walk away in a greater love, and walk away in a greater understanding, and walk away of a greater commitment to reconcile ourselves so that we can then reconcile a community, a nation of race relations. That's important stuff. So you want to have harmonious relationships. Begin to take stock of which ones don't allow for true dialogue, don't allow for true interaction, that don't allow for one person having their voice and you don't ever get to have yours. Do you really want that relationship in your life? Choose what you really want. We'll talk in the next couple slides about what you really do with these things, but you can make a choice. Choose, I want to feel lighter in my skin. I want to feel lighter in my body. Well, sitting here and praying away these extra pounds or the extra fat or whatever I have isn't going to do anything. I got to get on the treadmill. I got to pray. Ernest Holmes says we swing from prayer to performance. Pray to get your mind right. Pray to be able to get clear on choosing what you really want. Pray to get clear on what you really want for your life, and then go perform. See, the prayer gives me confidence to go make that sales call. The prayer gives me confidence to go walk 5 miles, run 5 miles, get on the treadmill for an hour and a half. Prayer gives me the clarity and the conviction and the commitment to, instead of getting that burger and fries, that every once in a while, I'll have that, whatever, tuna fish sandwich instead, whatever your thing is, that salad, that thing that doesn't add so much weight, that adds to a feeling of lightness, but also feeling satiated, satisfied. So choose what you really want. The values and the quality that goes along with this are conviction and decisiveness. Conviction, decisiveness, choose something. Choose the life that you really want. Not that someone else wants for you. Not going to college because someone said you had to, and that's the way to make more money. We can get plenty educated now. And I'm saying, if university is great, I'm just saying you can get plenty educated now without ever stepping foot into a school. But you got to choose to be educated. You got to choose to go find the resources and the information. Choose to educate yourself. I mean, you could get a PhD on YouTube these days. You know what I mean? Choose what you want. I want to be an expert in public speaking. I want to be an expert in car mechanics. I want to be an expert in aerospace. What is it? Choose the life that you want. I want to be free. I want to be in love. I want to be compassionate. I want to be financially free. I want to be in harmonious relationships. I want to be self-expressed. I want to choose consciously now to use my voice where I've stuffed it down before out of fear. Now I can open it up out of a true faith and a conviction and an understanding that God is my life and I cannot be harmed. It could appear that I could be at some times, but you remember the old saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words, unless we allow them to, cannot hurt me. Amen. So conviction, decisiveness. Here's a prayer to help support this idea. Knowing that the loving presence is always closer to me than my very breath, I have nothing to fear. I feel this loving protection around me. I know the song of joy, of love, and of peace is forever chanting its hymn of praise and beauty at the center of my being. Therefore, I tune out of my mind all unhappy and negative ideas. I turn the dial of my thought to the sunshine of life, into the brightness and laughter, into the joyous presence of radiant spirit. I lay aside all anxiety, all striving, and let the law of divine love operate through me into my affairs. Joyfully, I anticipate greater abundance, more success, and a deeper peace. Joy wells up within my mind, and life sings its song of ecstasy in my heart. Can I get an amen? I mean, is that supportive or what? Is that empowering? Again, I encourage you to
Amen.
Amen. Who is that? Amen.
Sally in Ohio.
Hey, Sally in Ohio. God bless you. Absolutely. It's just, again, I encourage each of us to take this information, to take these prayers and to really work them every single day. Can you see that if we take that one prayer just right there, that one prayer, and marry it to an idea, some way that we want to grow, some risk maybe that we want to take, some move that we want to take, how that can support us and sustain us. Isn't that wonderful? Ernest Holmes, you got to love it.
Amen.
All right. Amen. So here's the next step. Choose what you really want. And here's where the rubber meets the road. Okay. Here's where we got to bring it into the world. Here's where we go from this internal work to making a bold move. After we know what we really want, we get clear on it here, we got to make a bold move. You got to take a risk. Let it rip. Leap and then learn to fly. It's scary. I mean, just thinking about it, isn't that leap and learn to fly? Okay, I'm going to go to the top of that building over there. I'm going to jump off and learn to fly. Of course, we're talking about this metaphorically and symbolically, but it's the same idea. And it's what makes the movie The Matrix so powerful. It just is. That there's a, you know, again, it's a symbolic world. It's a metaphorical world. It's a world of consciousness, the Matrix. But within that, individuals get to stretch beyond what they think they can do, beyond what they think their capacity is. So we make a bold move, whatever the bold move is. The bold move could be, you know what, this relationship has run its course, a friendship, a marriage, a partnership. It's time to move on. It could be that I've been struggling with this relationship, and the bold move is to dive in headfirst again so I can reconcile this friendship, so I can reconcile this marriage if there's a possibility there. It's being willing and vulnerable enough to say, you know what, this is worth it to me. I'm going to make a bold move and work to reconcile this relationship. Whatever the bold move is, start the business, start a podcast, do a video blog, a vlog, you know, put your ideas and your expression into the world every day. What's your bold move? To you know, actually get up in the morning, get out of the house and go walk those 5 miles. You know, there's all sorts of, I don't want to have to put in the physical effort. The bed's so warm and cozy. I'd rather sit and have my cup of coffee on the couch or whatever it might be and watch, you know, my morning programs or whatever. But if you really want to lose weight, you got to get out and walk. And for someone, that's a bold move. If you really want to have financial freedom, what's that idea that you've been sitting on, that you've been concerned to bring to the marketplace because you're concerned that it's going to be rejected? Well, my friends, we already know what the answer to that is. It's already rejected because you haven't brought it to the marketplace. So it doesn't have an opportunity to fly. There's a reminder, a picture in my sister's house up in Seattle. And actually my daughter, I hadn't noticed it, but my almost 7-year-old daughter was just looking at it and she just read the words out and I said, huh? And it says, I think it simply says, what if I fall? And the rest says, well, my dear, what if you fly? You know, so again, how are we perceiving things? And you know what you can do too to help embolden this in this day and age is, what's a risk that you've taken before? Maybe you were younger in life, you didn't have as much responsibility, you weren't so risk averse perhaps back then. You know, I certainly know that my risk aversion has changed a little bit since I had my daughter. And yet bold moves yield big results. So you can think about a time where you did make a bold move, where you did take a risk, and remember what that felt like, the exhilaration. See, this is a beautiful thing about memory too, is that we can bring a feeling tone or a thought or our experience of something through memory that we had before. We can bring that feeling tone into the now and allow it to inspire and empower us in this moment. So as you're considering, you've chosen what you want, you've gotten rid of the garbage, you've told the story about it, you've chosen what you really want. Now you're ready to make a bold move. Again, these are both powerful questions to ask. What do I really want? But you got to be prepared for disruption, okay? When you're asking that type of question, we have to be prepared for disruption in our lives, because certain structures that are already in place, that are the gravitational field keeping your life where it is right now, will start to break down. But the beauty of it and the gift of it is you're going to be moving in the direction of what you really want. And that's freedom. And how would you feel every day getting out of bed and going to bed truly free in your life? Freedom, move about. Everybody desires it. Everybody deserves it. Everybody, every person, every living thing, every human deserves to be free. I don't care your race. I don't care your color. Again, I don't care what you smell like or what you eat. You deserve to be free. That's what this is all about. So make a bold move. The quality, courage. Be courageous. And that simply means, you know what? Even in the face of when the doubts might pop up, you just say, take a seat in the back of the room, please. Thank you very much. In fact, why don't you just go ahead and leave the classroom? All right. Go to the principal's office, fear. Go to the principal's office, doubt. You're in detention. You're on lockdown. What's happening here is growth, progress, evolution, newness. Sometimes that takes courage. It takes courage to say no to your doubts. Courage to say, I'm not going to give in to my fears today. And then we move with boldness and conviction in the direction of our dreams and the life that we really want. You can feel the yearning inside of you. I know it. I feel it. All right. And here's a prayer to support this idea. I know that every negative condition of the past is swept aside. I refuse to see it or think about it. Again, this goes back to having dominion over your mind too. Yesterday is no longer here. Tomorrow has not yet arrived. Today is God's day. God's day is my day. Today, bright with hope and filled with promise, is mine. Today, my heart is without fear. I have implicit confidence in the good, the enduring, and the true. Today, I shall guard my thought and my speech. I shall keep my consciousness steadfast with the realization that there is a spiritual power upon which I may rely. I shall turn resolutely to that divine source which knows no confusion, to that spiritual center which knows no fear. The spirit is not afraid of anything. The divine has no enemies. The spirit knows no opposites. Consciously, I draw close to my divine center, the source of all that is. I feel the warmth of its presence. I enter into a faith made perfect through love and confidence, an assurance made complete by the abandonment of myself to good, by the abandonment of myself to the life that I really want, the abandonment of myself to my dreams, the abandonment of myself to the bold move, acknowledging good in all my ways, desiring only the good for others. I rest in calm assurance. I have confidence in the future and enthusiastic expectation of good things to come. Make a bold move. I have confidence in the future and enthusiastic expectation of good things to come. Take a risk, let it rip. I have confidence in the future and enthusiastic expectation of good things to come. Leap, then learn to fly. I have confidence in the future and enthusiastic expectation of good things to come. All right, amen. Here we go. Last slide. The final thing in Charles Hall's formula for getting unstuck, getting free, is to create a system of accountability. Again, this goes back to your team. Gather your team, rally them around you on behalf of you creating your very best life. Gather your team, write them down. This is my team. And then make sure they know they are your team. That's important too. Okay, this is my team, but like on a basketball team or a football team, you're aware of who's on your team. But if the other people around on the court or the floor or the field aren't aware they're on your team, that's going to cause some issues. So gather your team, let them know, hey, you're on my team and this is what I'm up to. And I want you to hold me accountable to what I'm up to. I want you to hold me accountable that I'm really interested, sincerely interested now in creating the life of my dreams. And I want you to help me do that. That when I backstep, you tell me that I did. You call me into my good. This is commitment. When you let other people in, trusted confidants, trusted people, let them in on what you're up to. You can ask them to support you, to empower you, to lift you up when you're down, and to continue to cheer you on when you're flying. You can do it. Think about this, maybe not that. How about doing this? Let it rip. Remember, you committed to making a bold move, Charles. Do it. Go do it. Go do that thing you're afraid of. So what if they say no? Do it again. Keep going. This is commitment. And here's a prayer to help support this and empower this. I know that my search is over. I am consciously aware of the presence of the Spirit. I have discovered the great reality. I am awake to the realization of this presence. There is but one life. Today I see it reflected in every form, back of every countenance, moving through every act. Knowing that the divine presence is in everyone I meet, the Spirit in all people, I salute the good in everything. I recognize the God life responding to me from every person I meet, in every event that transpires, in every circumstance in my experience. I feel the warmth and color of this divine presence forevermore pressing against me, forevermore welling up from within me. The wellspring of eternal being present yesterday, today, tomorrow, and always. This is the agreement we enter into with the team and the agreement we enter into with life. When we choose the life that we really want to live, we continually make bold moves on behalf of that life. We commit to it. And as we're on the journey of life becoming better and better and better, of our life becoming more authentic, more reconciled, more at peace, more self-expressed, healthier, we continue to grow. We continue to evolve in that direction. Life is for us. That's the agreement that we create with it. That life is for me. So I cannot fail in the grandest sense of things. There might be a moment where it seems like a failure. There might be a moment when you were hoping somebody said yes, but they said no. But that's a moment. We're talking about the big picture of creating the life that you want to live, of creating the life that you love, a life that you love. That's a bold vision to have. That's it's a big idea. It's a beautiful idea. It's an opportunity for you and for me. I will pause there one more time. That's the final slide in this presentation. I've got a couple other thoughts to share, but I'll pause there for a moment to see if anybody has anybody they want to ask, or anything they want to ask or contribute. Again, don't forget to unmute yourself if you do. Anyone?
That was wonderful. Those prayers were amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. They're wonderful prayers. It's Ernest Holmes and his commitment to dive deep into his own God, really, into his own life, into his own soul. He dove deep into that well and emerged with these gifts, these pearls, this life-giving water. He dove deep into the well and came up with this life-giving water to help sustain us and support us. And so I'm very grateful to the man that he was and is, and the consciousness that continues to bless each one of us. So amen.
Amen.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else?
Your words reminded me of Mary Morrissey.
Oh yeah.
There's
Yeah.
so many great moves toward abundance that are happening right now.
Amen. Yeah, Mary's she's been a great teacher of mine. I actually grew up going to camps with her daughter, one of her daughters. Yeah, back when we were kids. So yeah, I've been familiar with her work and her family for quite a while. Yeah, so she's a wonderful woman.
I went to Unity with her.
Oh, cool. Right on. Anybody else? Cool. So there's one other thing as an aside. I mean, it all has to do with the same stuff ultimately that I wanted to make the distinction of this morning while we're all here together. And that is a distinction between truth and fact. A distinction between truth and fact. I think what I've noticed is a lot of times we go through life and we use the word truth when we in fact mean the word fact. There are 8 billion people on the planet, something like that, 7-8 billion people. That means there are 7 or 8 billion truths. Within that, there's one fact or a fact that is interpreted 7 or 8 billion different ways that become truths. And a truth is what happens when something's filtered through our own consciousness and awareness. A fact is what happened. The fact is, I was born on December 27th, 1974. Now, there could be a lot of truth that goes along with that. That's a fact. There could be what's the thing when you do somebody's chart? What's that called? Did this on Monday. Where's my vocabulary?
Astrology.
Astrology. There can be an astrological interpretation of that. There can be all sorts of interpretation of what it means that I was born on December 27th. But the fact is, I was born on December 27th. There's no truth to it. The truth is simply what I've created out of that idea. The fact is, I ran a red light. The truth about it is, I don't know what the truth about it is, but I think it's important, especially now when there's so much information, that's so easily accessible, that I think Indiana Jones said it. We were just watched all the Indiana Jones movies when I was in Seattle, and man, I can't remember which one it was. I think it's the very first one. He's in a class teaching, and he says, this is archaeology. This is the search for fact. If you want truth, so-and-so's philosophy class is down the hall a few doors. So I encourage each one of us to search for facts these days, when there's so much information that's available everywhere, that we actually search for fact and then establish truth in the midst of that, but we're aware of the distinction. What does that do? That allows us to actually be on the same, as humanity, as human beings, play on the same playing field. That a fact is a fact. The fact is that I'm standing here right now. That's not a truth. The fact is I'm standing in front of this camera talking to you. It's what's happening. And then we get to have our interpretation of truth and what's being presented, et cetera, et cetera. Truth is individual. Truth is our perception of something. Truth is how we metabolize it through the filters of our own consciousness. So I just extend an invitation that when there is so much information available and so much, there's appears to be so much, hey, everybody go to your own corner and with your truth and come out swinging, and we're not listening to each other, that we actually meet where the facts are and then be responsible for our interpretation of that, the truths that we interpret. So I just want to extend that invitation. What's the difference between a fact and truth? A fact is what happened. It's what is, and a truth is how we interpret it, which is another layer of what is, I guess, but it's still an interpretation of something. So I simply want to leave us with all of this information today, and to hold each other in such compassion, ourselves and others, in lightness, in a light way, such that we're all human beings and we're all trying to figure it out. No one's got it figured out. We're all waking up every day and we're all figuring out life. Let's get as many tools in our tool bag as we possibly can to have compassion and love for ourselves and for our brothers and sisters. I don't care what they look like. Everybody deserves dignity, respect, love, appreciation, opportunity, etc. So we'll keep diving down that rabbit hole over the course of time, but I wanted to present that to you today. Hey, thanks so much for being with this morning on this Friday session. Please continue to support the center financially. We continue to be so grateful for the gifts that you share as we continue to present ministry and ideas and these platforms that, again, my prayer, I know Dr. Joe's prayer, all of our staff, the Sensational Six, is that we benefit our community. We are a community. We are a whole. So please, again, as I continue to say as well, as you give, you receive, and you're not giving to the center. You are the center. Whether you're Sally in Ohio or John just down the street here in La Quinta, or Palm Springs, Los Angeles, whatever it might be, we are the center. We're not giving to the center. We're giving to ourselves to continue to nurture the spiritual life that we are and that we have. So God bless you. Thank you for that. We've got another, stay tuned tomorrow. If you want to jump on the website at 10 a.m., we've got our meditation. Sunday, of course, we have another service, and then another awesome slate of activities coming up over the next week. Well, indefinitely, but certainly more good stuff next week as well. I don't have that in front of me, but you can always go to the website or look at the service on Sunday, and the information will be there. I also encourage you to reach out to somebody if this is a benefit to you, and you know that there's somebody who may be sheltered in alone or could really use an uplift, could use a divine nudge, could use some support, some encouragement, some empowerment. Invite them on. Just have a little watch party. Invite them on. We want to do our best to have this be as not dogmatic. Not you got to live like this or you're bad. You're a sinner. You got to live like this or you're or we don't accept you. That's not what we're up to here. We're up to growing hearts. We're up to growing lives. We are up to a commitment of making bold moves so that we can continue to, as a humanity, as everybody, create the life of our dreams and actually live a life that works for all of us, a world that works for everyone, and that includes everyone. So God bless you all. I'll just take a moment to see if there are any final comments or questions, and then I pray that everybody has an extraordinary, magnificent weekend.
We love you and we thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. My heart is full. I'm grateful. Thank you. Thank you. Anything else? Then I'm out of here. God bless you. Have a magnificent weekend. Much love.